I had a conversation last week with one of the top fine dining groups in the United States. They operate restaurants that do anywhere from 30 to $50 million a year per location. And some of these are the most successful concepts in the entire country. And what stood out to me was that even the best restaurants in the world still have opportunities to grow. These guys, without a doubt, have their food dialed in, service perfected, the ambiance, the clientele, everything you'd expect from a top tier fine dining brand. But when I asked them what could be improved, they said, honestly, midweek traffic could be better. Mondays through Wednesdays, there are still open tables. And so here's what I loved about that. Because if a restaurant makes $40 million a year for one location, that's in the top 0.01% of restaurant locations in the entire world. And they're still seeing an opportunity to get better. It just really shows you how much potential there really is for all the other restaurants that exist. Now, many fine dining owners that I talk to have a certain belief oftentimes. They think running ads or doing any kind of marketing will cheapen their brand and that it'll make them look like a discount chain or a hotel rewards program. But the truth is, advertising doesn't cheapen your brand. Bad advertising for sure cheapens your brand. But just because your food and service are exceptional doesn't mean that advertising can't make them even better. And so what I want to break down in this video is that when it's done right, it actually enhances your brand's image. It puts your brand in front of the right people in the right context and reminds them why they love you in the first place. So going back to the fine dining group I met with, they don't do any advertising at all. They mostly rely on word of mouth and reputation. They do actually have a strong organic presence on Instagram. They're pretty good at their Instagram account. So I couldn't say they do zero marketing, but they don't do any paid advertising. And look, I can kind of nitpick them, but they're crushing it for the most part. And so when we started talking about their goals, a few things became clear. They wanted to fill more of those early week tables, Monday through Wednesday. They also wanted to sell more of their premium memberships. These are their high ticket annual memberships that cost thousands of dollars per year and give access to private lounges and events. And their biggest challenge wasn't what they had to offer. They have a phenomenal product. It was just driving more awareness to those things. And when I dug deeper with them is they didn't have a great way to stay in front of people who already loved their brand. The ones following them on Instagram or guests who dined with them before, they just didn't have an easy way to remind those people, hey, here's what's coming up next week as a way to stay in front of them. So what I told them is they don't necessarily need to sell harder. They just need a smarter bridge between the audience that they already have and the moments that matter most for their customers. So for example, how do you get your highest spenders to join your membership program? What does that bridge look like? Or how do you get the guests who usually visit on Saturdays to come in on Tuesdays? How do we make that transition? This is what I'm talking about. And so for fine dining, the goal isn't to advertise more, it's to advertise smarter. Here's how you do it and how I've done it for many of our customers. And so step one, this is how I would execute it, is capturing your guest data at the restaurant. This is what we'll do for many of the clients that we work with. Is most fine dining brands already have incredible traffic. What they're missing is a way to connect the dots to everything. And so what are different ways that we can capture these guest touch points or data? Well, we can use your POS system, your reservation platform like OpenTable or Resi, QR codes on your menus, even your website. Every one of those touch points is an opportunity to capture guest data and tie it back to their visit. Step two, what I would do is retarget the right people. So not everyone. And what I mean by retargeting is if someone dined with you before, they might scan a menu on their phone or they might follow you on Instagram. They've already liked you. They know who you are. Now it's just about showing them certain pieces of content that deepens that emotional connection they have with your brand. And what I'm talking about, it isn't like 20% off dinner this Tuesday kind of ad. It's here's what it feels like to dine here on a Tuesday night. You're going to show the music, the energy, the wine being poured, the chef plating that new dish. Make the ad an extension of the experience. And so step three is use that to fill midweek and promote high-end experiences. So you can gently nudge people towards a weekday reservation or give a glimpse of what your exclusive membership feels like. So the message isn't buy this, like in your face ad. It's you belong here. This is what it's like to experience our brand, and bringing back those emotional and memorable experiences with your restaurant. Guys, by the way, real quick, if you're enjoying what I'm sharing in this video, our systems, Dineline and Dishio, are exactly what we do to make this all happen. It's the same approach we've used for some of the most well-known restaurant brands in the country. What we do essentially is we combine marketing strategy with technology to help restaurants capture guest data, remarket intelligently, and grow revenue without ever necessarily running discounts. So if you're serious about building and scaling a marketing engine for your restaurant, I encourage you, check out the link in the description below to learn more. That's all the promotion for today's video. Now let's get back to the video. So the key here is subtlety. You're not trying to sell, you're trying to remind people more often. And most fine dining restaurants have an Instagram full of amazing content, but that content only gets seen once by the people who already follow you on Instagram. When you retarget that same content to past guests or website visitors, suddenly it becomes a consistent brand touch point that you control. There's a difference between followers and then strategically running sponsored ads on Instagram to show it to certain people. And this can all be done in a tasteful way without coming across as salesy. You can run a beautiful 30-second cinematic spot highlighting a new tasting menu or a seasonal ingredient and only show it to people who've dined with you before. So they're like, hey, I know what this is. There's no discount in this example, just showing more of the brand and why your restaurant is special. I will say this, I think there's a lot of fine dining restaurants that do a good job on Instagram primarily. They do a great job of photography with their food. They do a great job of video content with their food, but then like it kind of just stays there. And if they had the tools that I'm explaining to you in this video, what you could do is just strategically get that content out to more people to drive some of the stuff that I'm talking about. Anyways, when I left that meeting with that big restaurant group, I couldn't help but think about how rare the mindset is that they have. You know, I've talked to plenty of restaurant owners doing $500,000 a month. You're talking maybe like $5 or $6 million a year, and they think that they figured it all out. But honestly, like when you meet operators that are doing 30 or 40 or $50 million a year for a single location who are still asking, how do we get better? That's what separates the top 1% of restaurant owners from everyone else, is they understand that, you know, growth never stops, and that smart brand aligned advertising doesn't take away from their success, it amplifies it. So I'm excited to implement some of this stuff with them and see how it goes. If you found this video helpful, by the way, make sure to like and subscribe. We work with restaurants in two ways. The first is through our agency Dineline, where we'll handle all your marketing for you, and through our software Dishio, where you can capture guest data and turn it into repeat revenue. You can learn more in the video description below. Anyways, that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next video.